The server should remain there to receive the water from the priest. The priest will then pour the wine into the chalice and cups, and then give the empty container to the other server to receive. The servers should then take the water, the bowl, and the towel, and be ready to wash the priest's hands. After he offers the wine, he will hold his hands out to be washed. One server pours the water over his fingers, and the other one holds the bowl. They bow to the priest, and then return the items to the table. After they have returned the items to the table, they will take their places at the steps of the sanctuary. The acolytes, too, will take their place at the steps of the sanctuary on the other side. Notice how the servers stand with their hands folded. At the end of the Sanctus, or the Holy, 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 the servers will kneel down, again kneeling with hands folded. At the end of the Sanctus, the Eucharistic prayer will begin. When the priest holds his hands over the gifts, at the Epiclesis, the server will ring the bells. A short time later, the server will ring the bells again during the time of the consecration of the elements, when the priest says, "Take this, all of you, and eat of it, for this is my body, which will be given up for you." The server will ring the bells again when the priest consecrates the wine, when he says, "Take this, all of you, and drink from it, for this is the chalice of my blood, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, which will be poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in memory of me." After the liturgy of the Eucharist is completed, we move into the communion rite. At this point, the servers will have moved into the sanctuary, and after the priest receives communion, he will then give communion to the servers and the Eucharistic ministers. After the priest has consumed the precious blood, the servers will grab their patens and be ready for the distribution of communion. The priest will give communion to the servers first. And then he will go over to give communion to the acolytes and the Eucharistic ministers. Notice one of the servers brings the paten over to make sure that a host is not dropped. After the priest has given the precious body to the servers and the Eucharistic ministers, he will then give the precious blood to the Eucharistic ministers and then go down for the distribution of communion. During the distribution of communion, the acolyte may take the Roman Missal from the altar and put it on its stand. Notice the proper way for the paten to be held during the distribution of communion. It's held underneath the chin for those receiving on the tongue, and underneath the person's hand for those receiving on the hand. The paten is to catch the host if it were to drop. At the end of the distribution of communion, the paten bearers will follow the minister up and set the patens on the altar to be purified. The servers will then kneel down in front of the tabernacle as the priest reposes the Blessed Sacrament and then removes the luna to put into the monstrance for adoration. The servers remain kneeling until the priest returns and closes the tabernacle and passes the key to the server on his right. The servers then return to the credence table to assist the priest in the purification of the vessels and removing the vessels from the altar. One server will stand ready with the water to bring to the priest. The other will grab the patens as they have been cleaned. The server stands ready to receive the water once the priest has used it. Then the servers will stand ready to receive the items at the edge of the altar as the priest places them there to be removed. The servers take the items and return them back to the credence table. After all the items have been removed, except for the main chalice and the main paten and the corporal cloth and the pall, the priest will bow to the altar and allow the acolyte to come and put the chalice back together with the veil and the burse, which one of the servers will bring to him. Notice how the acolyte carefully unfolds the chalice veil and carefully places it on the chalice. He then carefully folds up the corporal cloth, making sure that he does not spill any crumbs that may possibly be left on the corporal cloth, places it in the burse, puts the burse on top of the chalice, and hands it to the server. The server then returns the chalice to the credence table, and both servers return to their chairs and sit down. If possible, the acolytes and servers should all sit down together. When the priest stands and says, "Let us pray," all the servers should stand. The acolyte should bring the Roman Missal to him for the prayer. At the end of the prayer, the server will return the Roman Missal back to its stand and prepare for the procession out. After any announcements and the final blessing, the priest will go to kiss the altar, and that will be the signal for the servers to go and grab their processional cross and candles and to line up for the procession out of the church. The cross bearer should line up first, followed by the candle bearers, and then all turn and face the altar or the tabernacle and wait for the priest to genuflect. Servers not carrying anything genuflect with the priest. Those carrying candles or cross will just bow their head. And then the group process out to the back of the church, and they await the priest to say the words, "Prosit," and the response is, "Pro omnibus et singulis," which means, "May it be for our benefit, for each and all." The servers should then place their candles and cross on their stands, and then one of the servers, after the completion of the final hymn, will go and extinguish the candles. The server will bow in front of the altar and then use the bell of the taper in order to suffocate the candles. Notice he does not actually touch the candles or smash them down, but merely uses the bell to suffocate the candles and extinguish them that way. The server should then return their albs and cassocks and surplices into the closet, and if they happen to see one on the ground, they should take the time to hang it up and place it neatly in the closet. After the garments have been neatly placed in the closet, the server should be sure to close the closet doors, and then place any cinctures into the drawer in the sacristy to put them away. This has been a Sacred Heart server training video. Thank you for your dedicated service to the altar.